Okay.
Welcome to the BS Your Way Through Life show. So happy to have everyone here. And also, we have a very special guest. I just recently met her. She's my new friend. Her name is Natasha.
Yes.
Natasha, how do you say your last name? Richburg.
Richburg.
Okay, I want to make
Richburg.
sure that I was saying it correctly.
Yes.
Okay, so Natasha Richburg. Natasha is amazing. You're also, let's see, so you wrote a book because you've been married for over 36 years, right?
Right now it's 40 years, 42
Yes,
plus, 42
yes.
plus. I wrote the book at 36 years.
I love it. That's awesome. And so she wrote the book because she kept getting like, how do you do it? How do you do it? So she's going to tell us how she did it. And also, aren't you like a motivational or a speaker or something?
Yes.
Tell us a little about all of this. Okay, tell us about it.
Yes. Okay, so first I'm in corporate America, information technology manager, doing big projects and all of that with a dream to be a teacher. And so I always wanted to teach. I started at a 2-year college, ended up at a university. And then I wanted to start writing books. So I wrote a series of books, Christian books to help people about life. And then I kept getting the question about, how have you been married? How is it so different? How do you make it? Because most of the time, if the female's an executive, there's always tension. But my husband never felt competitive against me. So I could have 4 children, have a high level position, work on a couple master's degrees, and follow my heart and teach. And he was chill with it.
Wow, you're a Wonder Woman.
Right, but that's why I like to go to bed early and sleep long.
I know, so that you can get up and do it. That's amazing. Okay, so obviously your book was, so what's the title of your book so people know how they can find it?
It's called People Ask, What is the Secret of Our 36-Year Marriage?
Okay, awesome. And do you have a link or something you can give me like later?
Well,
so
it's on Amazon and it's on Audible.
Okay,
books,
perfect.
And I can give it to you. Yes.
So, perfect. Okay, so look up Natasha Richburg. People ask, what's the title?
People ask, what is the secret of our 36-year marriage?
Yes. So find that book, go and read it because it is amazing. Okay. So we're going to dive in a little bit.
Okay.
I've got some of my little notes here because I want to ask you some questions.
Good.
So prepare yourself. Okay. So what are some of the key things, a few of the key things you did to make your marriage successwoman? Like,
well, first of all, the good thing was I had no expectations.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Woman, hold on. I can't tell you how many times I tell people on my podcast and everywhere, like, you've got to let go of expectations.
I had none.
It is a miracle. It's a miracle worker.
I mean, I didn't want to be married. It was my dream, and I write about it in the book, to be a rich woman in a penthouse with white carpets and a little black book. That was before, And,
right.
And my husband never wanted to be married.
Oh my goodness.
Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy. And
neither one of us. No, it was the furthest thing from I was what? Who wants to do that? My mother was divorced. I'm like, why do I want to do that? So it wasn't like, it was no expectations at all.
Wow, that's so amazing. What a good start. Seriously.
That was a great start.
I know.
Because, it's like at one time we were dating and then all of a sudden he started acting strange. I said, what's the matter? He says, I don't want to talk to you anymore. I was like, okay. You do you, I'll do me. And that was it. It was over. But long story short, he was afraid to get married. And that was the furthest thing from my mind. I said, did I ever act like I wanted to get married? But he had worked it up in his mind that I was the one and I didn't know what was going on. Is that crazy?
That is crazy. That's awesome.
Is that how your story went?
No, not quite.
Oh.
My husband knew he wanted me, and I was like, I'm not sure yet, It's kind of on the opposite. Because, like, I wasn't ready to get married yet. But then, you know, he kind of blindsided me. He just kind of swooshed into my life and swept me off of my feet. And I was like, whoa. And it just all happened.
See, I think no expectations. And when we got to the point that we wanted to get married, I said, well, let me write a list. Let me tell you the things I do well, and you could tell me what you do well. I say, I like to cook. He doesn't like to cook. I said, well, if I cook, you're going to clean. He said, okay. I said, I hate washing clothes. He said, I got the clothes. I said, okay. I don't like the vacuum, but I'll sweep. He said, okay. I said, okay. Now, if I do the money, you got to be the auditor. Okay. So we kind of I had a list.
Oh my gosh, I love it. That is awesome.
And he followed his mother around the house to learn how to wash clothes because he didn't know how to wash them.
I love it. That's so
cute. And so I didn't know, even like with putting the money together, because a lot of people, I don't know how that works. So we had an account for us. And he has an account for him. That's his money. I don't care what he does with it.
Right.
And then I have an account for me. Right. I don't care what I do with it. And that's just how it works.
And just let all the expectations go. So, okay. I love it. Okay. So let go of expectations. Step 1, let go of all expectations. Step 2, obviously you guys communicated incredibly well. So tell us a little bit about your keys to communication.
The key to communication is he was really shy and he didn't like to verbalize when he talked. I like to talk. And so in the beginning, when I wanted to talk, he didn't want to talk. And it's in the book. And one day I wanted to talk and I write it in the book. And he would get his little ice cream and he would wait till the top melt. And he would pull the spoon around to get it. And when he pulled the spoon around, and as he went up to his mouth, pop! I hit the ice cream off the wall. And I bust out laughing because he started fussing. And I was like, finally. And that opened him up.
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
And it was so funny. The ice cream was going down real slow. Ooh. But he wouldn't talk. And that opened it up. And then he started talking after that.
You're like, come on. That's amazing.
I thought I was Babe Ruth hitting a home run.
I'm sure you did. And he took it so well. That's impressive.
Oh, he took it well because it was funny.
Yeah, it was funny.
I knew his routine.
And that's another thing too, is you have to have humor in your relationship or you are not surviving.
You're not.
We all are quirky and are impulsive. You know, I'm super impulsive. Like a thought enters my head and I'm just like in it. And my husband's just like, okay, I was a little too impulsive. Think a little bit.
That's right. That's exactly it. And the crazy thing I've learned with coaching other people, the main thing that's helped other people that I didn't understand, that I learned intuitively in marriage, being right is overrated.
It is, absolutely.
If you fight to try to be right, you'll always fight. You got to listen to understand, trying to figure out where they're coming from and see if you can at least empathize with them. But it's not about if you're right.
Oh my gosh, that is so true. I love that so much. I think Sam has his little reactions there. That's my reaction.
I remember at the point with my 4 children, all 4 of my children they were teenagers and my husband. And I remember one day I was telling them stuff and it was right. And everybody was mad at me. And I was like, this right is for the birds. I need to be understood and I need to understand. And I backed off on being right. I don't care if I'm right. I don't care if I'm wrong. I just care if you hear me.
Same. Oh my gosh, that is so key, because I think that's many times a lot of struggles in relationships is that they think that they need to be right, but really the deep down root of the issue is they just want to be heard.
Right.
Everybody. And if you realize that, I had that realization the first month that my husband and I were married. We were both like, we were like not understanding each other. Somehow we were just missing and we kept going around in circles and we both kept saying the same thing. and neither one of us, and then it hit me. I'm like, oh, he just wants to make sure I understand what he's saying. And as soon as I validated, oh yeah, you mean this, I know what you're saying. He's like, oh, and then I'm just like, I was just making sure you knew what I was saying, that you were hearing me. That was all. And then it was over. That was it. We're
That's
just both
right.
looking to be understood. That was it.
That's it. And that's in most relationships.
It
And,
really
and
is.
one of the things I found in the beginning too, and I always talk about Melvin about this, and I noticed, especially if you with an alpha male, they look at being accountable as being controlled. And that's not being controlled.
No.
If you say you're going to come home at 9, and at 9:15 I'm saying, where are you? I'm not controlling you. You need to be accountable to what you said. It took a lot of years for him to understand the difference in the two.
That's so true. Yeah. And
And that was him.
Yeah, exactly. Like my husband, if he was like going, if his work was going to be running over, he made sure that he did his best to like give me a text, shoot me a call. Hey, I got an extra client or whatever. I'm going to be later. There was times where he couldn't and he'd get home late, and I'd be like worried because like you're creating a worry, a worry space for your spouse, and you want to try to avoid that because that frustrates them. So
that took a long time. In our marriage, that took a long time. And I didn't worry about being right about it because I figured one day he'll get it. And now he gets it. He gets it. He over gets it. I'm on the highway. I stopped at the gas station. I got some
my husband
Pringles.
does that. Yeah.
I was like, okay, chill. I don't need visuals, but it's like one day it's like he got it.
That's beautiful. My husband does the same thing. And it's such a comfort because it makes you feel safe with your spouse when the communication is happening. And so you said something key I wanted to hone in on. You said, I forget how you said it, but the question I have for you, so it took a long time.
A long time.
Right? But yet you were patient through that whole thing. What was I'm sure, because like a lot of people, they're not patient, or the emotion comes in, they're frustrated, they're angry, maybe they feel a little betrayed or whatever. How did you deal with it? How did you process it so you weren't creating arguments constantly in your marriage?
I think with me, now that I'm old and I look back, my mother didn't like me.
Really?
Yes, she really didn't. She loved me, but she didn't like me. And I knew how to live in an environment where I was being tolerated.
Oh my goodness.
So when a lot of people would have said, peace, I'm out, this isn't it, I knew his heart was for me. I knew he would try to make it right. I just knew he didn't get me. And that's still better than the other. I think if I was in a loving, wonderful house, I would have been out in 5 years. We didn't really click. And that's what I tell people when I see people struggling. I say, oh, you've been married 10 years. You've been married 11 years. Most people break up by 10, 11 years. We didn't click till 15. It took 15 years for us to click.
Right.
And then when people say they didn't click, I said, you ain't cooking with gas till 25, and you not hot in the seat till 30, and by 40 you relax.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how many years it takes a long time.
It does.
And a lot of people think it only takes a couple of years. No, we didn't really cook. We weren't really on the same page for 15. It took 15.
And that's okay.
And
it's okay because we're human, we're different people, we're different, genders, male, female, and we think differently. We have different backgrounds. Like all of that takes into account.
Right.
And so like you were used to being in an environment where like with your mother, that where you were being tolerated. So that was normal for you. So you didn't make a big deal out of it. Right. So what would you say to people who haven't been in that environment before and they're not used to it? Do you have any solid advice for them?
I always say, does he genuinely care for you? And you could tell if somebody cares for you, even if he can't kind of get it together.
Oh my gosh.
If you're upset, does that really get him? I mean, really get him. And then the third thing, he has to mature into what you're saying. It might take 10 years. it's certain things that Melvin said I didn't get till 33. I note every time I get something. It took 33 years before I got it.
Right.
And I said, y'all expect to get it in 33 minutes.
No, that's not possible.
It's not possible. And so if the person still has have a heart for you, and they still want to figure out how to get it right, and you got to understand being right is not the end game, you'll make it.
Oh my goodness. A standing ovation. Those are beautiful answers. It is so true because, you know, there's so much, you know, because like with my husband and I, you know, he comes from a different background than I come from. I mean, we have similar backgrounds, but then there are similar things that we don't. Like he grew up in a family that had a lot of trauma, right? They had some family members that created a lot of trauma that was just not fun. So my husband got a little bit of a, you know, PTSD from that,
Right,
and certain ways that things that are said could trigger that, and then all of a sudden, you know, he's getting really defensive, and I'm like, what did I do? You know,
yeah.
and it's just like, okay, but because I understood the background, it helped me have compassion and empathy towards why he would suddenly, you know, start yelling or lashing out or whatever. I'm just like, okay, I know where this is coming from. And I know his love is so big for me. It's bigger than this. And my love for him is bigger than this moment. And I can be able to help him get through it because I'm wise enough to be like, you know, and sometimes we may not know where it's coming from, but trying to see past, you know, what's really going on. Maybe they had an extra stressful day. Maybe they ran into someone that was frustrating, and you just happened to say that thing that reminded them of it, and all of a sudden it's all coming out, and you're like, whoa, you know. But knowing that they love you and remembering, I like to call it coming back to basics. They love me, they're a good person, and I love them, so it's going to be okay.
Right. And even with Melvin, if he gets mad, I used to think I could talk about it in real time, but he's a 48-hour man. If in 48 hours, no matter how mad he is, he's over it totally.
Wow.
No grudges. So I've learned no matter how mad he gets or upset, all I got to do is wait my time, clean.
Wait for 48 hours.
Yep.
I kind of think that's a little bit of all men. Like they seem to get over it faster. We can
hold it for 48 years and they get over it. I give him 48 hours and he's done.
Just give us 48 years.
But you know, and some people think, and when and so then we have code words. If I say I'm really tired, then he knows whatever you got to say, save it. And if he says not now,
then you respect that.
Well, because I know he's going to give me my time when he's ready.
Exactly. No, that's beautiful, because if you do it in the time they're not ready to hear it, it's going to turn into a toxic argument.
Right. And the other thing that I found with people don't want to fight. But I said a diamond wouldn't be a diamond without friction. That conflict is what makes you beautiful. Anytime somebody says we've been married 30 years and we never argue, one of them got a separate family. If you never argue, that's the answer. You're going to argue. You're going to have disagreement. If you never fight, somebody's not bringing their real true self to the marriage.
There you go. And I like what you said about the diamonds. You got to have some pressure to get some diamonds. And like, yeah, there is some definite, you know, you got to work things through. And sometimes you're not going to see eye to eye. Right?
That's right.
And I try to teach people, it doesn't mean that you have to call each other names and have like an absolute yelling shout out match. You can be disagreeing and you can be sitting there and be like, well, I think this, well, I think that, well, I wish, you know, but yeah, try not to get it to where it's toxic.
And one of the things, the things is we've learned, you don't go below the belt. No hitting below the belt. If you hit below the belt, it's time to time out and stop that. No below the belt.
So give us an example of below the belt.
Call you a name.
Yes.
Call you out your name.
Yes.
Say your mother ugly. Say, I
Yeah.
don't like the way you cook chicken.
Exactly. Yeah, don't do that. That is not okay. That is not helpful. At that point, you're just spitting out of anger. There's no communication there. It's just anger spewing out of your mouth.
And it's below the belt. It's not necessary. It's
It
really not.
isn't. No, it's not. That you
Mm-hmm.
can be able to communicate, disagree like calm adults.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes you need to go there, because if you
Yeah,
don't go there, they don't know you're really that mad.
it's true. And growth, sometimes growth happens out of the hard stuff. And I think that's something that I've been learning over the last, so at the beginning of my marriage, the first few years of my marriage, I was all about, you know, keeping the peace. I was a little more masochist than I probably should have been, but I just like, I don't want to create arguments. I don't want to create stuff. So I would just like get over things, right? If something bothered me, I just get over it. And some things I needed to just get over with it because it was petty. But there were some things that maybe I should have talked about. Maybe I should have said, hey, you know what? I really, this bothers me and I want this to do or whatever. But I didn't because I'm like, I want to keep it happy. But over the last couple of years, I realized I'm silencing myself and I'm
Right.
suppressing, and that's not healthy either. That's
No, it's
worse
not.
because it's going to all eventually blow up. So I'm like, okay. And I decided, okay, let's figure out how to communicate what I want in a healthy
Right.
way. And so I started doing that. How do you do it? How do you communicate what you want in a healthy way so you feel like you're not, how do I say this? Not a maybe not offending them or not stepping on their toes, or I don't know, making them feel like they have to put aside what they wanted just so you could get what you wanted. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, well, one of the things I found a long time ago, probably about year 6 or 7, we do a year annual calendar of goals and objectives and things we want to accomplish for the year.
oh, I love that.
And yeah, and kind of lay those out. And I know with Melvin, hard topics I have to do in the morning. I can't do hard topics at night. So hard topics I do from 4 to like 7, maybe 8 or 9. And after that, no hard topics. Because that just doesn't work. That's
Yeah,
his clock. Somebody else's clock might be midnight to 3 or whatever.
right,
And
right,
so I'm the one who always has the hard topics because I'm like the dreamer.
right, right.
I'm the dreamer. Everybody has one dreamer and one, but the good thing about a dreamer, he doesn't let me stop dreaming.
That's beautiful. And that's how it should be. We shouldn't stop each other from dreaming.
Right.
Like sometimes my husband will come to me and just like, I have this idea, I want to do this, and go for it. That's all I have to say about it. Go for it. Let's do it. If it doesn't work out, who cares? We got a learning
Yeah.
experience, right? No matter what, you
Right.
pay for a learning experience, or if it didn't cost anything, you got a learning experience. And if I
That's
have a
right.
crazy idea, he says, go for it. And you
Right.
need that in your relationship because we need to be able to do what's passionate. So here's key thing. It seems like that our passions and the things that light us up, and if we have a spouse that supports those things, it seems like that's what helps us also, like, it's a huge contributor to a healthy relationship.
That's right.
So how have you found that true, and how has that
Oh,
been
I definitely found it true, because a lot of women I know, when they go to school, their husbands get jealous. When Melvin met me, it was a couple weeks after I graduated with my undergrad degree. I've since got 2 masters and an all but dissertation towards a doctorate, and he's been fully supportive. It never bothered him. I wanted to travel the world. He don't want to travel the world, so I get somebody else to go with. It doesn't bother him, but I have to bring him back good souvenirs. And I give him my itinerary, and every time I get back to the hotel room, my phone's gonna ring, and I tell him what happened on my day. So he
Oh,
doesn't really want to go, but he goes through me. And like if he has to go, he will. But that's not his preference. And so that's how it really works. I'm the one when I met him. You like put a chair in a room and the woman dance all around the chair and the chair.
Right.
That was him. That was me, and he was the chair. Now he danced with me. But he didn't
Beautiful.
but he didn't stop me from dancing.
That's beautiful. I
And
like
I
that.
didn't make him dance. I was going to dance with or without him, and now he went to. But let me tell you this thing. Every about 5 or 6 years, I change who I am and what's important to me. And I have to give him 2 years to catch on to it. I might have wanted to do this, but I don't want to do that anymore. Like, for instance, when I first got married, I used to like to know the answer to everything. I don't want to know the answer, and hear me out, to nothing. And when he asked me, I don't know. So he's got to get used to me not knowing answers because I don't want to know. I'm
Right.
done. I know that's a different person, but she has changed.
Yes.
I know you don't like this, but you'll learn to love it. I do change, and I don't want to know answers like I used to.
Right. And we do. We change and evolve as we get older and as we have more experiences. Like one day you may be in love with dancing and it's your favorite thing, but the next time you're like, you know what? I moved on from that and now I want to write. I feel passionate about writing. There's nothing wrong with that.
I know, but when you have a husband that's a creature of habit, it usually takes him about 2 years
Yes.
to catch up to my evolution, and I get that.
Yes, my husband's a creature of habit in small ways. So like I like to rearrange things. I can get bored of how things are, and I'm just like, I just need a different view. So I'll rearrange things, and it just throws my poor husband off. He's like, "Why'd you move this?" He's like,
I do the same thing. I do the same thing.
So I gotta ease him into it.
Guess what? This year, I put up like 4 or 5 Christmas trees. And this year, he thought he was going to help me decorate my tree. Oh, no, you don't. He says, and we need to. No, this isn't a we.
This is a me thing.
Yeah, he puts it up. He does the top, but he thought he was, oh, no. He wanted to help. Oh, no. And so you know what he did? So I put little animals, stuffed animals on the steps. He bought a stuffed animal and put one up there. That was good.
Oh my gosh, that's cute.
But don't touch my trees.
Don't touch my tree. That's right.
Oh, that kind of little stuff.
I know, right? The little stuff. Because like having respect, because sometimes my husband, for instance, the other day, we were getting ready because we were going to go on and take our kids to this humongous skate park that was like 4 hours away. And we were packing food for it for the night before. We have an apple tree. My husband went out and picked up apples off the tree. And he had, and he's washing them and doing the whole work. And I'm doing the other part of packing whatever we have in the fridge. And then I see him with the apples and he's just like, I'm just going to put these apples in these metal bowls and we'll have them in the metal bowls in the van. And immediately, because I'm very impulsive and I just, my brain just keeps going. I was like, ooh, I've got some bags. Let's put them in some bags. And I meant it as a suggestion, but obviously my words had no suggestion in them.
Oh, right? Yeah, that's
and
true.
My actions had no suggestion in them either. But in my head, I was like, I'm just suggesting, right? And my husband's just like, well, I was going to do this, but now I guess I'm going to have to do this. And I was like, oh, I stepped on toes. And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm just like, I meant it as a suggestion. You don't have to, the bowls are great. It's a great idea. And then he's just like, well, your words and actions said not a suggestion. It was like, this is what we're doing. And so it was frustrating to him. And then I sat there and I was just like, I thought about it. I'm just like, I really had to think. And I'm just like, I do that a lot. And I don't even realize it. We don't realize how much that we might be like too pushy or wording or whatever and how they read into it. And so I went up to him and I'm like, I'm sorry for every time that I've made you feel like that it was something that you had to do because I thought it was better. Anytime that I sound like it's it's, you know, more than a suggestion. Just say, thanks for the idea, but I'm going to stick with this. And I will walk
Right.
away, no problem. But it was a good moment for me because all these years I was like, no wonder why he was so frustrated.
But you know what? That is so true. Because I remember early on at the height of my career, I would bring the boss home. And Melvin would say, well, why are you talking like that? I said, you know what? Everything that got me career success pisses you off. It's hard to turn off what works. So
Yeah.
you got to remind me that I need to turn it off because I don't know it's still on.
Yeah. Because sometimes we're just stuck in our own heads, you know?
Right.
And we
And
feel
so,
what we feel. We're not feeling what they're feeling or thinking what they're thinking or
and you
taking
know,
what they are.
and so when I get like that, he'll say, maybe you need to go lay down. That's the code for I'm doing too much.
Yeah.
And when he says that, I'm like, oh, I'm doing too much. And then it's okay. Yeah. So, because you can't tell all the time.
Yeah, it's true. Because we just get so wrapped up in our different you know, agendas that we have going on or whatever. And we don't realize. And that's the thing too, I think with women especially, they don't understand how much their husbands might not be aware of what's going on inside of here and
Right.
here. Like
Right.
their husbands are so involved in what's going on with what they're responsible for that they're not realizing that how they might be, you know, somehow neglecting or hurting their spouse, and realizing that is key because it helps you not be so mad at them. It's just like, hey, and you're able to calmly talk to them as opposed to, like, you know, getting upset and assuming that they know. Well, if you don't know, well, then I'm not telling you, you know?
Yeah. That's true.
That doesn't do anything.
We always think they know our minds.
I know, right? It's like, it's so funny. For a silly example, when we were first married, my husband would get on, because every night we'd sit together and we'd just binge watch like Netflix or YouTube. YouTube is the favorite platform. But my husband would immediately get on to YouTube, didn't say anything to me, and just started watching whatever it was he wanted to watch. Usually it was surfing or BMX. And I'd be sitting there. And it wasn't that I didn't mind. I liked watching surfing and BMX too. But it was the fact that he didn't consult me, right? And so I'm sitting there going, he didn't ask me what I wanted to watch. This is our time together. It should be like a decision that we make. And I'm sitting there I'm sitting here, you know, mad at him in my head. And then I realized, you know what? I'm upset. He has no clue. And he doesn't even know that he technically didn't really do anything wrong. And I'm really mad about something that's silly.
Right.
So either I get over it, or I talk to him, or I start communicating better. And so I'm just like, so I learned, I say, hey, instead of making a big deal, I was like, hey, you started something, you didn't even talk to me. Instead of making anything out of it, I said, hey, when we're done watching surfing, how about I was thinking about this cute movie that I saw on Netflix. What do you think about that? And then the discussion is open, right? As opposed to me barreling in and be like, excuse me, right?
Yeah, I know. And a lot of people just don't want to put the work in.
Right. Oh, it takes work.
They don't want to put the work in, and it does. And one of the things I tell people all the time, and Melvin's good at this, every day, if he's going to put out the trash, he'll kiss me before he go. Yes. If he's going to buy Fritos, he'll kiss me before he go. If he just getting ready to go downstairs to watch his show, he'll kiss me before he go. And I always say, if I'm mad at him, I make my lips tight. And if I'm not, I make them juicy.
Oh my gosh.
But the thing is, that touching is very important.
It is.
It's couples that'll get mad and won't touch each other for like a month.
I know. And that's not healthy for either of you. It's not. My husband and I also say, I love that you said this, because my husband, he will not leave out the door without kissing me first. I will not leave out that door without kissing me first. It's like that connection you have before you depart. And then when we comes home, we hug and kiss. We say we miss each other. You know, whenever we can, we call each other throughout the day. How's your day going so far? I love you. I miss you. These things are important. And the whole touching thing is so important. I mean, I've heard couples where they don't have, sex for like months or whatever.
Right.
And that's not healthy. And
No.
many times it's the woman because she's emotional. I can't tell you. During my period, when my period is coming, I do not feel like having sex most of the time. I just feel bloated and gross, and I don't want to be touched because I'm annoyed at everything. And so it's like, but then he needs it, and I
Right.
love him. He loves me. And so sometimes I just say, okay, let's just try to, so I have little tips and tools for myself that help me get in the mood a little bit. And then,
Right.
if he wants to do it, I totally do it. And every time my hormones balance.
Right.
So sometimes you just got to do
That's
it just for
true.
the hormonal balance.
Right. And we always like get in our feelings and pull away.
We
And
do.
we cannot. But sometimes with my clients, I can't even get them to touch pinkies. I try to get them at least to touch pinkies because that starts it. If you can
Yes.
get a pinky, that's the beginning.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, that's so
You
good.
know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Yes.
But that's a big deal if you're mad and you do that. It feels like nothing else.
It's getting over yourself
Right.
and putting down the pride.
Thank you. Hello.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
See?
You're amazing. Feed us more. we've got about I gotta look at the time here. We've got about 10 more minutes.
Okay.
And then I'm a mom, you know how that is. And
oh yeah.
My kids have some evening stuff going on. So
I understand. So what else you want to talk about?
So girl. All right. So let's do a little recap. Okay. So let go of expectations. Right. Communicate.
But some men communicate non-verbally. I think women need to learn how to read that better.
Oh, give us more on that.
Okay. I have one son who communicates and he doesn't talk. And so I can look at his eyes. I can say, so you're hungry, aren't you? And he'll smile. He said, day wasn't as good as you thought it was. And he'll go. I said, so did somebody say something? So I carry the conversation and he reacts.
Right.
And then sometimes, like when Melvin's not in the mood, that he don't want to talk, I go, so, you good? He'll go, yeah. And that's everything.
It is everything.
So that's still communicating. It's not girl communicating. I tell females, if you want that 20,000 words, get a girlfriend to talk to. That's why I got open that can. Get a girlfriend to talk to. Hey girl, did you watch that show?
My sisters are like, and my mother-in-law and my own mom. I'm like, if I need to let things out, I go to them because I know that my husband does not have all the capacity to hold all of my emotions. There's too many. There's way too many. They're too heavy.
Right. And so some people don't understand the importance of having that other person that they could talk to because he's communicating. He's just not talking.
Exactly.
And you got to give him grace for communicating.
You do. You absolutely do.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And the other thing is you got to know, like with me, I know the thing that calms the beast is when he comes home, smells in the house. So I'll cook something really delicious. And I tell people, if you can't cook, go get a daggone slow cooker, throw some vegetables in it, and put some seasoning, and the house will still smell good.
Oh, yeah.
It's not about whether you eat it, but when the house has that home smell, feel.
It's like, welcome home.
Thank you.
Yes.
And you don't have to know how to cook. I don't buy that.
No. Google's your friend. YouTube is your friend.
Yes.
It'll teach you everything.
I know, but for the man to come home to a real good smelling house, it's everything.
It really is, because I learned early on in my marriage, like my husband would come home and he always comes home because he has got his linens. He's a massage therapist and he's got his planner. He's got his lunch. in one hand, and he's just like, his arms are full. And as soon as he'd come home, I'd been dealing with kids and drama all day from kids, right? And I'm just like, as soon as he went through the door, I was like, oh, good, yay, a savior. And I'd start unloading on him all these things. Well, he's standing there with all this stuff in his hands. He's had a long day. He's tired. It's late, right? And he's just like, and then one day he finally just like, can I land first? And I was like, oh my gosh, I did not even think about that. But now I let him land. And then I say, how was your day? And then as soon as he's able to unload his emotional load and his physical load, then I like, well, and then he'll ask, how was your day? And then I have the opportunity, and then he's ready to hear me. Because, you know, if think about it, if I would have just gotten offended, just like, oh, he just doesn't want to hear what I have to say, you know, that would have done no good. And that would have caused friction between us. And that does nothing.
Right. That's right. And sometimes I tell people when they've been married for a while, sometimes you got to act like the mistress.
Yes.
You got to be like, you know, put on the stockings with the little thing up the
yes. Spice it up. Don't be afraid to be spicy. And quit being so insecure about your body.
Oh, yeah. Don't worry about that. He don't care.
He don't care. He just wants to get down with it.
I said, why they got to have all the fun? You have the fun too.
Yeah. Like, if we have the money, I'll go out and buy a skanky outfit. I don't care.
Yeah, and that's just it. I mean, that's all it takes. It doesn't take any more than that.
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't. Yeah, you just gotta have. So okay, expectations go away. Communication, and then making sure you have physical touch.
Yes,
all the time.
All the time.
All the time. It's so important. And then make sure that you are allowing your partner to do what lights them up.
Right.
And you also need to be doing what lights you up, which is also part of self-care, which is so important for everybody.
Right. And then it really works. It really works. Everybody, they walk into, and like I'll tell my children, you look at your spouse and talk about what they're not. Just spend something, talk about what they are.
Yeah.
Because if you can talk about what they are, what they not seems less.
Yeah. It does nothing for them. It doesn't make them feel like they want to grow in any way. I always say this. I say, stop judging people for who they're not.
Right.
Because it doesn't do anything for them. It just brings them down. It makes them feel like giving up.
Right.
You need to praise them for every good thing they do. And then that builds them up, and they build upon that. And then they started, like, if there was something where I thought, oh, if I had it, like, for instance, my child, I have a son, and him and I just butted heads all the time. And I just like, and I would just tell him, why are you so distracted all the time? Why can't you, like, just constantly like bringing him down. And then it hit me one day. I'm just like, I need to build him up. I'm not getting anywhere this way. So I started saying the things that I wished he would do as though he was already doing them. I'm like, you do so good at your chore.
Right.
You are so good at your schoolwork. I started doing it. And you know what happened? He became, right now, he's my best student.
Right.
He's the most focused, and he's like responsible, and he's turning into an amazing young man because I started to believe him that he was already. And I started having the language of that, and it so helped.
It does help. It really does help.
And you've got to do that with your spouses.
Yeah, and you do.
There's nothing more disappointing than hearing from your spouse what you're doing wrong.
All the time.
Yeah, all the time. I mean, sometimes we need to be told, hey, like the other day with the Apple situation, I needed to be told that my language was not helpful, right?
Right.
Because I couldn't make the correction otherwise. But if that's all that's coming out of your mouth, and you're focusing only on that, and you're wanting them to change in certain ways, marriage is an as-is thing. You're not marrying someone to change them. If you did that, then you're married for the wrong reasons. You can't marry to change someone. You're marrying them how they are, and you grow together.
Right. You can't marry potential.
Exactly. Oh, I like
No.
that.
A
Can't
lot
marry
of people
potential.
like to marry potential. You can't. You got to accept them. If they poor, accept that they're poor.
Exactly. You can't bring that up later and put it in their face. That's not
Right.
fair. Then they're
Right.
going to be like, why'd you marry me then? Well, I thought you would change.
Yeah.
Okay, well, then you were not in the right headspace.
That's the truth. It's the truth. It's the truth. You got that. It's perfect. I love the fact that you like to talk about marriage because most people are so down on it.
I know, it's so sad because it's such a fun thing. My husband is my best friend.
Me too. Me
Seriously,
too.
like I have so much fun with him because I've chosen it.
Right.
You part of it, a huge part of it is you choose it because you
Right.
can choose to be happy in your marriage or you can choose to be miserable.
Right.
And your
Right.
choices of how you react and act in your marriage are going to produce happiness or unhappiness.
Right.
And it's
That's right.
not on your partner to make the changes. Well, if they change, then I'd be happy. It doesn't work like that.
Right. No, it doesn't. Did you have a wedding or did you go to the courthouse?
Oh no, we had a wedding. I'm from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and I'm sure you've seen the beautiful temples.
Oh,
We
yes,
have,
yes,
yeah.
yes, yes.
So we got married in the temple, and then we just had a reception at the church. We did our reception. So we got married in the temple, and then we had a big reception for for family and friends that wanted to come and whatever. And anyway,
That's
yeah.
good.
So
Yeah, we just went to the courthouse.
oh, that's fun. Hey,
It was just,
work.
but he didn't even propose because I one day I said, "Oh, Melvin, I found an apartment, so I'm going to be moving." He says, "Well, I don't believe in living together, and I don't want you to live alone. So let's get married."
I love it. That's so cute. I
So
love it.
I moved in on that weekend, and that Monday we went to the courthouse.
I love it. You know what? That's important too, because some people will have this expectation again of like, well, if I do things this way, for instance, like in California where I live, they think that if you don't spend like $30,000 on a wedding, you're not going to have a happy marriage. That
Oh,
is
really?
not the case. Like you can just go to the courthouse, get married. You can go elope. You can have a wedding. You can have a cheap wedding. You can have a potluck wedding. It does not matter. Your marriage will be as happy as you make it.
Right. That's true. That's true. So I
And it
never
can
cared
be
about a
any way you
wedding.
want. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Like I
Yeah.
had a wedding only because I wanted my family around, right? I
Oh,
wanted to
that's a
have that,
good.
right? But my wedding was so cheap. I spent $600 on my wedding, and that was including the dress. Yes.
That's wonderful.
Yes. Very thrifty. The dollar store is your friend. You can make a nice looking wedding just by going to the dollar store.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, my centerpieces, I got these little glass wine cups from the dollar store, and I went to Walmart and got a bunch of 10-cent fish, orange fish, because our colors were orange and blue, and it was a kind of ocean themed. So I also from the dollar store, we put these little, the clear rocks or with the blue rocks inside, and then we just put the fish in the cups, and that was the centerpiece on the table.
Oh,
Those little
that's
fish. Yeah.
nice.
So
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
yeah, super cheap, super cheap.
Oh, well, I hope this was a good conversation for
Oh
you.
my gosh, I so enjoy you so much. We're gonna have you on again.
Oh, that's
And I feel like there's so much more to talk about.
it.
Okay,
Really
is there
is.
any last thing that you want to leave with us before you go? Your top advice or just anything that you feel
One
inspired?
of the one thing I'm just really into now, when you're happy, sit in it. People sit in their sadness, but when they have a good day, they don't sit in it. And if it's a good day, just sit in it. Don't rush past it because if something bad happens, it rings in our head over and over again. Why can't a good thing happen and it rings in our head over and over and over again? So this is a good day and I'm going to sit in it.
I love that. That is beautiful. That is so beautiful. Okay, everybody, sit in your happiness. That's your homework. When you ever have a happy moment, you sit in it. Okay?
Sit in it.
Sit in it. That's going to improve your whole life in every area. Seriously,
Yes,
that's beautiful. Thank you so much for being on my show. Your presence was just so beautiful. You're such a beautiful woman. Thank you
Oh,
so much.
thank you. I thank you so much for having me.
Yes, let's keep in touch.
Okay.
And let's do this again sometime. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Woo, I love it. Okay.
See
Have a
you.
beautiful night, Natasha, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Bye.
blessing my listeners. Bye.
Bye.